Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I thought we'd do a review of some of the races over the weekend. There was some good news for some of our horses, there's some not so good news. We had a few nice winners though, and hopefully some more that are ready for Cheltenham in a couple of months' time as well. So we'll start off with the Grade 2 Juvenile Hurdle, which Comfort Zone did win, which was great to see. Editeur De Gite probably suggested that that was a bit of a fluke at 66 to 1. And we was also very pleased to see Dixon Cove finish third and not actually win this Grade 2. Obviously, because we like Dixon Cove for the Fred Winter or the Boodles Juvenile. They didn't really change the price, 12s and 16s. I think that's a fair price. And I think the fact he's been beaten twice now by Comfort Zone, surely Paul Nicholls goes, well, there's no point me running in the Triumph Hurdle because I'm unlikely to beat Comfort Zone, and Comfort Zone's very unlikely to beat Lossiemouth. So at best, that's at best you're going to finish probably 4th or 5th. And if there's a couple of other Irish horses, you could be finishing 6th or 7th. What's the point in that? Whereas she looks very nicely handicapped for that Boodles Juvenile Handicap Hurdle. So I'm still very keen on Dixon Cove, and we also had a nice winner there with Comfort Zone. Second race, great result for Stage Star. I said before the race that you probably need to be quite good to win this. You need to be like quite a progressive horse. Look at some of the previous winners or previous horses that have gone close. Obviously, Simply the Bets won this a few years ago. Back in second was Imperial Aura. And obviously they both went on to win at the Cheltenham Festival. First last year was Imperial Alcazar, who went on to finish second at the Cheltenham Festival. And the horse that I kind of want to take out of this race is That's Alright Gino. You can see he ran well and traded a 1.84 in the run. Stage Star's going to go up in the handicap, and he's going to go up. I think he's going to go up quite a bit for that, and probably be handicapped out of the Cheltenham Festival handicaps. He's going to be quite high and giving away a lot of weight to everything, and I think they'll end up in one of the graded races instead. That's Alright Gino, however, was having just his first run over this 2.5 mile trip over fences, and he ran really well, and he looked a big danger to Stage Star turning in. He travelled well. Yes, Stage Star went away from him at the end, but I think this was a really good run from That's Alright Gino, and if he's off the similar, he could be like Imperial Aura, who went on to win at the Cheltenham Festival granted it was in the 2.5 novice handicap, which isn't around anymore, but something like, that plate could well be a target for That's Alright Gino now. He has had a few runs over fences. This wasn't like... He's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 runs now over fences, so it's not like he's a complete novice and he'd be turning up there with no experience over fences. He's got plenty of experience over fences, and I think he's very interesting for that plate. Did he get a price after yesterday? Did anyone fancy pricing him up? Anyone? Let's do a search for him. Yes, there we go. Okay, 12s, 20s, 16s. Yeah, I understand why Sky Bet have gone so short at 12s, especially as they're non-runner, no bet. 16s, I think that's a fair price, to be honest, for this race. I think it was a really good effort finishing second to a former Grade 1 winning hurdler, Stage Star, who, he'd won 2 of his 3 chases. The only one he lost was when things didn't quite go right. We were enough 2 to 7 for a Grade 2. He's probably been beaten by a graded horse. You take that out, That's Alright Gino is a good winner on his first time over 2.5 mile at Cheltenham. Come back to Cheltenham for that plate, and I think he'll go very, very close. So he's definitely one I want to be marking down for the plate. If we move on, it was the cross country. There was a couple of good performances here. Desharaba nearly sprung a surprise. I highlighted him for the race at Sandown in a couple of weeks. Be interesting to see if he does turn up there. I don't think he will now. I think they'll go, well, maybe cross country is his bag now. Back on the lash, top rated winner, which is always nice, and Delta Work finished third. Obviously, he was giving away lumps of weight. Come the Cheltenham Festival, he won't be, and that's kind of why, well, that is why the bookies actually shortened him in places. 5 to 4, 11 to 10. I think he wins this, and I actually think he wins this and then goes on to go very close in the Grand National still. Obviously, our hope is we get to see Saint Godefroy come over from France. I think he's very, very good as a French one. Interesting to see Santini in the odds here. Unibet, Betfred, Boyle Sports. He's been retired. I mean, how they can't take him out, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, I think Delta Work still takes all the beating in the cross country at the Cheltenham Festival, and hopefully we can still get a French horse to come over. Moving on to the Clarence House, great to see Editeur De Gite win. Hopefully some of you had a few pounds on him after I suggested that he might be the one that's primed for the day, whereas Ed Nergamine and Edwardstone might have been over-primed, having been... It sounds like is it paint that you prime things? I don't know. He might have been... You know, they were ready a week ago. And also Editeur De Gite from the front. He was 5 from 6. He's now 6 from 7. His only defeat came at Ascot, where he's 0 from 3. His tactics going forward at Ascot don't work. But at Cheltenham, he's now 3 from 3. We highlighted him before the race for this one and for the Cheltenham Festival Champion Chase. He was 25s. After winning yesterday, he's as short as 6s. Do I think he'll win at the Cheltenham Festival? It's all about how close they keep to him and whether Edwardstone's effort from like 2 out to the last to get as close as he did to Editeur De Gite to challenge him, whether that was his effort that he should have been using after the last instead of between the second last and the last. And I wonder if they'll keep a lot closer to Editeur De Gite come Cheltenham Festival. It may turn out to be that the Clarence House came 1 race too early for Editeur De Gite to take on Energumene and Edwardstone with his tactics. However, I'm sure Connections aren't disappointed with a grade 1 to their name. Rambo T was disappointing in that maiden hurdle. That said, if you actually watch the race, when he and Astromachia came alongside Sweet Magic, one either side, Astromachia's jockey just quickened a bit quicker. He went for it. Rambo T's jockey sat there a little bit quieter, lost a couple of lengths by sitting quietly, and then never could peg him back. I think it's still a good race. I think that will work out quite nicely, the front two. And I'm hoping we see Rambo T in a handicap next time now. He does have a handicap mark. He's had 2 runs over hurdles, but he was given a handicap mark. He must have had runs in France, I guess. But yeah, he's only rated 116. I think it's a 114 over hurdles. Hopefully we can see him in a handicap next time. Probably the disappointing one for me was Boot Hill, getting beaten by Tommy's Oscar. Disappointing run. To be beaten by Tommy's Oscar, it's a grade 2, but I think it was grade 2 in name only. I don't think any of those will be challenging at the Cheltenham Festival, or at least not in the graded races. We then had the 2.5 handicap, and Il Rodotto and Fugitive really pulled clear. Those cheek pieces clearly helped Il Rodotto finish his race off, and he finished it off so well. Interestingly, obviously, Il Rodotto is probably going to go, well, will go up. Fugitive will go up. They pulled well clear of Precious Eleanor and Phoenix Way. If you did do an each way on Phoenix Way, as the other one in the race that I liked, you'll also have been paid out on that. He was given a lot to do again, moved into it. I thought he should have got past Precious Eleanor personally. I wonder whether there is a race at Ascot that he's won. He might also go for that race at Kempton in about 3 weeks' time, that he fell really early on last season. Yeah, it would probably be one of those 2 races. I think this is his Ascot race that he won, which was on January 22nd. Oh, sorry, that was last week, so he won't be running there. But he might go for this one, which was a fall at Kempton over 3 mile. When he went off quite a short price favourite for that, a very lucrative prize, and maybe Kempton might suit him a bit better than Cheltenham did. But yeah, I think that was a good result in that we had Il Rodotto covered. The disappointing thing is Il Rodotto, he's in here at 12s and 16s and 10s and 14s. He won't be running in that. He'll be running in the plate, surely, where he is 10s and 8s. But he is going to go up in the handicap. I think that could end up costing him the race at the Cheltenham Festival. As progressive and as consistent as he is, he's going to go up a lot, I think, because if you took Fugitive out, he was well clear of Precious Eleanor. And unfortunately for the owners of Fugitive, I think he's going to get a big hike as well, despite only finishing second, which is always frustrating. Moving on, we had Epatante, who, won as expected, was 2 to 9 for a reason. She was she was good, but she wasn't impressive or anything. I mean, she should beat these. Look at the R figures. She should beat them, with the jockey with his eyes closed. She won. I still want to see them do. I want to see them go for it. Where could they win a race? If you took on the mares and ended up against Echoes in Rain, who won today, or potentially even Honeysuckle, or Marie's Rock, or there's another one for Nicky Henderson that I can't think of its name at the moment. You'd be frustrated, or Love Envoy could turn up. Epatante, however, if she ran off top weight in the county hurdle, she'd win it. And I always like to try and suggest races that I think the horse can win. Not that the horse can run well in and finish second or third or fourth or fifth, but a race that it can win in. I think the county hurdle Epatante would win. You can't get any price for her because nobody's even looking at that, which totally makes sense. But similar applies for me to Bob Ollinger. Bob Ollinger doesn't want 2 mile. I don't know why he ran over short of 2 mile. He doesn't have the pace for that, and he doesn't want 3 mile. I don't think he stays 3 mile. But if you take those races out and just look at his 2.5 mile, 2 mile 3 to 2 mile 5 form, I think he's something like. I might get the amount of ones wrong here. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2. That 2 came 3 runs ago now, behind Home by the Lee. Home by the Lee is now second favourite for the Stayers Hurdle. The third placed horse, Ashdale Bob, went on to finish second at Home by the Lee in the Grade 1 subsequently. They were 10 lengths clear, and Ashdale Bob had come from the Coral Cup, as we all know, because I'm looking at him if he did turn up in the Coral Cup. Bob Ollinger in the Coral Cup. He was rated 150 today. He's going to drop to he was rated 155 today. He's going to drop to 150. And I think the handicapper would probably give him £2 or £3 in England. He'd go 152, 153. But what about if they run at the Dublin Racing Festival, potentially over 2 or 3, and get beat again, and he drops another £3 or £4? He could turn up off his English handicap mark of 150. Rated 150 in England. Imagine if Bob Ollinger ran in a Coral Cup off 150. He's 2 from 2 at Cheltenham. Granted, one of them was lucky because Galopin Des Champs fell at the last. But Galopin Des Champs is a very, very good horse. Go back to his Ballymore win. Very, very impressive. He wants 2.5 mile. People are writing him off purely because he doesn't have the stamina for 3 and he doesn't have the speed for 2. They're like, oh, well, he's rubbish then. He's not rubbish. He finished third today in a Grade 3. He's finished second in a Grade 2 earlier this year. He finished fifth when, it was far too far for him. 3 mile, it doesn't stay. Drop him back to 2.5 mile, or push him back up now to 2.5 mile. Put him in a handicap and run him in the Coral Cup. Say he turned up off 150, English handicap mark of 150, and Henry de Bromhead was able to find a £5 or £7 claimer that is a very good one. He could run off like 143, 145 in a handicap at the Cheltenham Festival. That would be, I think he'd go really, really close in the Coral Cup. As always, though, you can't find any price for him in the. Oh, you can. You've just got some prices for him in the Coral Cup. Here we go. 14s and 16s. That's tempting, 14s, non-runner, no bet. I think that's a bet personally. 14s, non-runner, no bet. If he does turn up there, we know he's got in and he's probably dropped a few more pound. If he doesn't run, you get your money back. I think that's a clever bet there on Bob Ollinger personally. So moving on, a disappointment for me here was how could do Taber. I thought she was going well turning in. She got run down by both Ashro Diamond and Jatara. Possibly she could have finished second if she'd been ridden slightly differently. But will she beat Ashro Diamond at the Cheltenham Festival? I don't think so. And with Ashro Diamond and Lucia both being quite short, you've got a few others to look at. How could you Taber? I can see her running well. I can see her finishing third or fourth. I'll be concerned. I wouldn't be confident that she can win now. The Cotswold Chase. Great to see a Hoisin win. I was delighted with that. Obviously, we do have already a bet on him in the Gold Cup. At least we know he's going to have a go now. Beat Sounds Russian, who Hoisinor ran down after Sounds Russian possibly went for home too soon. Noble Yates ran on into third, and Protectorat finished fourth. Now, I think that's a below par performance from Protectorat. I don't think that's quite his best. Noble Yates, the Gold Cup is a little bit further, and I think they'll go a bit quicker. I think the Hoisinor got to the front and went quite slow at the front. Frodon did then pick it up when he got to the front, but I think they'll just go a little bit quicker again. And Noble Yates, yes, he will get outpaced, and he will be finishing strongly. And if you've backed Noble Yates for the Gold Cup, I wouldn't have a lot between him and Hoisinor at all. Hoisinor can improve if he improves his jumping. Noble Yates, if they go a bit quicker, I think will come strong still. And if it was ridden, if it was ran how it was like last year with Manila Indo kicking for home way too soon, you would see Noble Yates, weaving his way through and finishing really strongly. Personally, I think if it was ran like that last year, Noble Yates would go very, very close. So if you've got a bet on Noble Yates, I wouldn't be too disappointed. If you've got a bet on Hoisinor, he's going to run now in the Gold Cup. It's all about his jumping. If they can get his jumping just a little bit better, he can obviously go close. He does clearly act at Cheltenham over the fences. So yeah, I think for me that would rule out Protectorat for the Gold Cup. I think he had every chance last year and he didn't win. And I think there's some other horses that are none of those three that beat him here ran in the Gold Cup last year. A Hoisinor, Sounds Russian, and Noble Yates didn't run in the Gold Cup. They can probably all beat Protectorat again. Moving on to the Albert Bartlett River Don. Maximilian won it. Stay Away Faye finished second. Stay Away Faye is the best horse in that race. Give him that, he's now had a defeat. He now knows a bit more about racing. He looked clueless in between the second last and after the last, running all over the place. I think if they ran it again, he would reverse the form. However, am I a fan of this Doncaster race for the graded race at Cheltenham, the Albert Bartlett? Not really. I think there'll be other races that are better, and I think you can kind of see that in the fact that Maximilian won it, and yet he's still 20s and 25s. So, yeah, just going forward, I think Stay Away Faye will end up being the better horse, but none of those would be selections for me in the Albert Bartlett. Pomenian finished second, a little bit disappointing, but maybe they are looking at a handicap down the line with him. Found a 50, you can see that wasn't a bad effort when he was second. He might have improved for it. Parmenian, he ran in the same race that they had State Man in last year, who ended up in a handicap before going on. They might just be going quite carefully with Parmenian. Interesting to see where he comes out next and the time after that. And if he ends up in a handicap, maybe at like the Punchestown Festival after, or potentially even at Aintree, it'd be very interesting to see Parmenian and what sort of mark he ends up with. The Cleep Hurdle. Cleep Hurdle was interesting for me. Now, Gold Tweet won it, the French horse, and we didn't know a lot about him, and he did look very impressive. I think they might have dawdled, though. And the reason I say that is Paisley Park never hit his flat spot. Normally, when they're going quite fast, he hits a flat spot and then runs on. And during the race, I was watching this, and I said to myself, Paisley to Park is not going to win this when they had about two hurdles to go, because he hadn't come off the bridle, which suggests that he's able to keep up. And when they do quicken, that's when he lacks that turn of foot. And it never happened for Paisley Park. If you've backed him for the Stayers Hurdle, I wouldn't be too disappointed, because they're not going to do this type of race, in my opinion, at Cheltenham. They're going to go faster, he's going to hit that flat spot, and he's going to run on strongly. Whether he can, Gold Tweet has got to prove that actually when it's a faster pace that he can go that faster pace. So yeah, whilst they drifted, what did they drift Paisley Park out? 16s and 20s. I think it'll be a different type of race come the Cheltenham Festival. I wouldn't be completely giving up on him. Moving on to the Doncaster race. There was quite a few fallers late on here. Garlaw, T for Free, under supervision. The horse to take out the race without a doubt is Captain Orr. This was a much better effort. His jumping was a lot better. He's going to go up a few pounds, and when he goes up, he can go back for this race. You can see he finished third at Doncaster last year before finishing first at Kempton. He finished second this year, but he dropped potentially out of the handicap for that race at Kempton. He'll now be back in it because of that win, and I think he will take all of the beating in that Kempton race. At the 2.5 at Cheltenham, the Grade 2 novice hurdle, Rock My Way won it, and you can see that he'd set a really good R figure when he was second behind We've All Been Caught, who we've highlighted for the Albert Bartlett. I wrote in the write-up for a We've All Been Caught that I felt Rock My Way was priced at 66 to 1 due to connections, not due to his ability. And it probably proved that yesterday when he beat Pembroke. Both of them will probably be, reasonable horses going forward. Excuse me. Yeah, both of those probably be good going forward. I do think Rock My Way can confirm that form next time, though. I do have, I don't know what I was looking for here. The final race on the card was at Cheltenham, and there's a couple that I want to talk about here. The first one we suggested My Eye would run a really big race, and he certainly did. He went 1.3 in the run, so that's 3 to 1 on in running. I thought he was going to get past Hacker de Place. I did say that. I said that I felt 2.5 mile would have been better for him. Dropping from 3 to 2, I thought was a bit much. Similar to Bob Olinger today, I don't know why they dropped so much. He's run a really good race, but I do wonder about the ride. Lorca Murta, I thought, gave him far too much to do, considering he dropped from 3 mile to 2 mile. Why did they then hold him up? As if, like, I'm worried about getting the trip. Why would you be worried about getting the trip if you felt he could stay 3 mile? We know he gets 2 mile. We know he gets 2.5 mile. I think they should have been, mid-division, not right near the back. If they'd been mid-division, I think they win that. Hacker de Place, there's nothing wrong with that form. Picard in third and punctuation in fourth. I think it will work out quite well. I think we'll see horses from here go for the Coral Cup and the Martin Pipe. I don't know where. We might see Mai Tai in the Martin Pipe, possibly. With Lorcan back on. We'll have to see what he goes up in the handicap. But with all that in mind, I want to see Mai Tai over 2.5 next time. But with all that in mind and the horses that were there, first, second, third and fourth, I think one you've got to go back and watch again is History Bear, who we also talked about. He finished third in this race last year behind Severance and Cormier. They both went on to do well at Kelso, and then Cormier ran well at Cheltenham, Severance ran well at Aintree. It worked out well. Go back and watch History Bear from the second last. Second last, he's only in front of about one horse. All of them are in front of him. Somehow he's finished really, really strongly. He's probably had one poor, really poor run in his last few. And that was when he ran in the Imperial Cup. He only went off 15 to 2 that day, and he never looked like winning. I think we were on him that day, and he never looked like winning. He was one of the first beaten. He turned into the straight and pulled up. He might have just had a really bad run. And if that's the case, considering he's run so much better here, I think he might be worth another go in that Imperial Cup. He's going to be a few pound lower. He probably wants the soft and heavy going. Give him one more chance in that Imperial Cup. Or if he ends up over slightly further, if he does end up over 2.5 or 2 miles 3, he might end up in that conditional jockey's handicap at Aintree, the one that Severance ran in after Kelso. Yeah, just go back and watch History Bear's effort, and don't rule him out next time, because I think he might be interesting going forward. Now he's ran really well, especially considering the horses that beat him. They were the unexposed improvers. Punctuation, 4 wins on the trot. Hacker de Place, really consistent in these races. Picard, really well back. They thought he'd obviously a better horse when he ran at Newbury, but previously a good winner at Chepstow. And Mai Tai, who is a graded horse running in a handicap, just needed to be a little bit more prominent. History Bear ran on really strongly there, and I think that is a race that you do want to have another look at as well. So there's a few thoughts from today and yesterday. A few ridiculous targets that I don't think we'll see them in, but Bob Olinger in the Coral Cup, Epatante in the County Hurdle. I think Bob Olinger in that Coral Cup at non-runner no bet is actually worth a bet, because if he turns up there, I think he goes very, very close. And if he doesn't turn up there, you get your money back. Dixon Cove, we'd very quickly run through them. Dixon Cove for the Poodles Juvenile. That's all right, Gino for the plate. I think that's a good one. Delta Work, I still think wins the cross country and goes very close to the Grand National. Editor De Gite may have won one race too early for him with the champion chase in mind. Rambo T, when he goes handicapping, keep an eye out for him. That was a race that I want to forget about. Il Rodotto won't be going for the Grand Annual now. Phoenix Way, just keep an eye on him where he goes. He might go to Kempton, he might go to somewhere else. Epatont, run him in the runner in the County Hurdle. Bob Olinger, run him in the Coral Cup. How could it Bear? I'm not sure she can win the Mayor's Novice now. Ahoy Sonor, I'm pleased with that. Stay Away Fair, I think, will be the best horse, but I don't want to really be following these in Cheltenham races. Parmenion, keep an eye out where he ends up. Hazy Park will run better at the Cheltenham Festival. Captain Orr for that Kempton 3-mile lucrative handicap. Rock My Way, I think, will confirm form with Pembroke whenever they next meet. Might I think, can win over 2.5. History Bear could be one for the Imperial Cup. And that's my thoughts for the weekend. Hope some of you, I saw a nice tweet from, I think it was Steve. No, it wasn't, it was Pete. Sorry, Pete. Nice tweet this morning showing some of his winning betting slips from analysis from yesterday. So hopefully some others made some good wins on some of the horses, and we can find some more next weekend.